Welcome back, dear friends. It's been a while, but I've been very busy. It was our wedding anniversary at the weekend, last weekend, so I had to tidy the whole of the extension around me so that we could turn it into a Disco Inferno, which was great. That meant I had to finish, finally, Victoria the Singing Automaton and the ukulele playing machine and get them hung on the wall in the lounge because I have nowhere else to store them. So they're going to be reclining there until the really exciting steampunk event in Whitby next February, when I really look forward to taking them with us. Excellent. I will get round to making the proper video, hopefully a really nice one, showing her singing along to the ukulele machine. Now it's all finished with all its features. I look forward to doing that. It's only taken me 3 or 4 years to get it finished. Anyway, what I've been working on is this. What is this, I hear you cry? It's a very strange looking item. Well, sadly, my very independent but elderly mother, who lives a few miles away, has had a couple of falls recently. She's getting a bit unsteady on her feet. So I went round yesterday because I don't want her to use the stairs at the moment until she recuperates, to move her bed downstairs and things like that. But I want her to have some sort of panic button, because apparently when she fell the other day, she tried phoning my wife on her mobile phone, but she was teaching, so didn't get it until later, and it was a bit garbled anyway. So she spent the day lying on the floor in the hall. Luckily the newspaper was nearby, so she spent the day lying on the floor in the hall reading the newspaper. Amazing. Never stops. So what I'm doing is creating a sort of device to monitor her well-being, and also to include a panic button, so if she does fall, she can contact us. I've been working on this project since 1986, I think, because funnily enough, that was when the degree show was, and my major project was a care system that would be in an elderly person or a disabled person's home and would monitor them in several different ways, very simply, and just keep carers or whoever aware that everything was okay. Because I'm in quite a hurry to get this project finished, I may insert a little bit about that, because I think it's in the loft somewhere. I'll see if I can find it, and just explain what it was about. So it's ever so exciting, 35 whatever years later, to actually be building one. I found it in the loft, look! I haven't seen it for years and years and years. I wanted to make it look as nice and sort of untechnological as possible, so it looks a bit like a coffee machine, I suppose. And it's all made of wood. And these were the days before computers. No CNC, nothing else. It was all made of wood and some acrylic. So there's some sort of canister in here, I seem to remember, to hold tablets. So a light would come on and then press the button and it would release the tablet for that day or whenever. And you had the phone around here, a nice simple phone with buttons and everything. All the mould lines. I'd forgotten the detail that we used to put into this sort of thing. It's incredible what we did then. Mould lines all round, even thinking about how it would fix together in a set. Oh, look. Excellent keyhole slot in the back. And it had a plastic frame front that would clip on there, so that the elderly person, could put a photo of their nearest and dearest in there, which, when I was explaining it to the tutors, they hated it because they thought it was kitsch. But I mean, function, you know, you want it to be accepted. You want an elderly person to accept that it's in their house and that it's going to be helping them. So that's fascinating. Right, let's get on with the new version. Now, I started off, obviously, as you do on the internet, looking for systems that were commercially available. Most of the branded ones, you have to pay an upfront fee, so well over £100, and then a monthly monitoring fee, inevitably, because obviously it's a business, etc., etc. So up to at least £20 a month. And I said, I don't want to do that in any way. You know me, I do like a challenge. And also, she hasn't got, as many elderly people don't have, wireless or the internet or whatever. So I ordered one of these. It's a Sim 800L, which is a chip thing, a little electronic unit made by a company that's used for mobile phones and things to allow you to send and receive text messages and make phone calls. Now, I will talk about this a little bit because I've learnt an enormous amount over the last few days. You can get all sorts of different types of these for the Arduino or Raspberry Pi or whatever. But this one was really quite cheap. I think it was about £8 sterling, which is good. So I ordered one of those. I noticed it had libraries. Several people have written libraries for it. It comes in two versions, though. I'll quickly state. It took me a while to work that out. The actual chip, the module is the same. But this board that they're soldered to, that allow you to connect it to sort of projects and things, there is a red one, I think it's red, and it doesn't have any voltage regulation on it or signal shifting. So everyone on all the help forums and stuff says you have to connect it to 4.2 volts, I think. I'll check. If you don't, you'll fry it. You can't connect the serial connections directly to the Arduino because that works at 5 volts. This doesn't. Don't do it. So having sort of worked that out, I realised the one I'd bought does. It has a voltage regulator on it and it has level shifting for the serial interface, which is great. So if you get one of these, you get a lovely little aerial with it, and you get the board and you can connect it directly to the Arduino. Now, there are a lot of wires here. I would suggest an excess of wires. The reason being that also all the help groups state it draws 2 amps. It must be able to draw 2 amps at 5 volts as it actually is sending it. It is amazing. Inside there's a microwave receiver and transmitter and all the logic and all sorts of other stuff. And I assume when it sends the burst of data with the text message, it does need a lot of current to draw. Now, I've checked it on here and it seems to draw about 60 milliamps, but that does take a while to register. So in the end, because lots of people are saying, well, it won't work because it can't draw enough current, I doubled up all the power supply wires to it just to make sure. Something else I've got to explore just to see whether I can run it off a slightly smaller power supply. Now, underneath this, dear friends, is a slot for an SD card. How amazing. And I thought, nah, this isn't possible. This is too simple. Doing something like sending text messages is going to be ever so complicated and involved. But basically, what it does, you've got plus 5 volts ground, and obviously you've grounded your Arduino as well. You've got 2 wires, I think they're these two, serial connections, so transmit this end to receive that end, transmit that end to receive this end with the serial library that you can add to your sketch, and that's it. And the Arduino can then send the codes through to this to get it to do stuff. I forgot to say why we want this to do stuff. What I want this to do is I want my mum to have a little panic button like a key fob. I got the idea from the is it time for tea? The ukulele playing machine, so when I wanted Victoria to say when her next performance was, I could click it. It's funny, I mean it's obvious, but I hadn't used one before. So I've ordered one of those, and that is going to, if she presses the panic alarm, if she falls, it will automatically send a text message to myself, my sister, possibly your wife, to say Mum has fallen. So that would be really, really useful. And obviously, therefore, doesn't need any wireless. I'm using the SIM card I got from Penny in the UK, 1P Mobile I think it's called, because it uses the EE network, but only charges 1p per text message, so that's brilliant. And it's pay as you go, so that's really good. I'm wandering all over the place now. What was I saying? Oh yes, and the other thing which harks back to my original project for college was I'm going to have a movement sensor. It's such a simple thing to do. In fact, I'm going to have one like this. These are the ones that I use in all my machines to get them to light up and to know when people are there to move. I'm going to mount that in here. Let's see where we're going with all this. So that and put this in the kitchen, in her kitchen, so every time she goes into the kitchen, it will sense movement, sense that she's moving around, getting cups of tea or whatever, feeding herself. And again, I'm either erring on sending a message, a text message, when it first sees her in the morning, to say, yep, she's up and about, or even, I'm thinking about it last night, I might even every hour, after an hour, if it sees movement again in the kitchen, it sends another text message. You know, it's 1p, and it's just to say, at such and such a time, your mum was walking around and moving in the kitchen. I think I might err on that. It's so simple, and yet I can't find anyone else. And this was 30 whatever years ago. No one else has come up with this idea, as far as I know. Please let me know if I'm wrong. And then the other things on this, we have an L for a nice lens. Couldn't resist it. I started off by thinking, well, let's just fix this. Panic after it first worked. I got it working, but that's another story. I thought, right, what can we build it? We've got to get it done really quickly. I know, Tupperware. So, you know, horrible plastic Tupperware box. And then, having been round there yesterday afternoon, I just calmed down a little bit. Thought, actually, we've got all the bits of wood and scraps and things to make something quite nice. That was a base for a clock that had gone wrong because the router slipped, but that's okay. The top bits, rather excessive knotting on that on the bottom, so they were excluded for quality control reasons, but are perfect for this. And then the other bits I just designed and cut on the laser cutter. There's a little air vent in the bottom and on the side, taken from the Heraldic Clarion. That's right, it's a sort of logo, but that'll look nice just to let air through. If you're going to do a job, you might as well do it, well, overdo it basically. And a hole in the side for the power lead. And why not? Why not use one of these? I've got a USB thing because that's what I use to run all the machines actually. There's a nice USB plug on the end of some nice copper colour cable and nice fitting that can go in the side. As I say, why not? Why not make it attractive? Right, back to SIM cards and things. But just in case anyone else is interested in this sort of thing, a couple of pitfalls, really important things I learnt about this module. There are 3 main libraries available for the Arduino to run this. There's one called SIM800L HTTP, I think, that allows it to connect to a wireless network, which seems to work, that library. There's another one which is SIM800L revised or something. If someone's taken an older library and improved it or something, it does not work. I tried everything, hence all the doubling up of wires and things. It doesn't work. I can't stay, that's enough. It's really frustrating. So in the end, just before I ordered one of the more expensive, complicated one of these things for the Arduino, I thought, let's just try the original library. So I installed that, and lo and behold, oh, the joy. I cannot express the joy, having spent hours hunched over this thing trying to get it to work. And it is so simple to send a text message. In fact, I'll show you before I get on with it. I want send SMS. I don't even know whether I'm pointing at the right thing. There we are, there's the example. That's it. It tells you where to connect the wires to. Transmit, receive and reset wire and ground. And because it's the module that I've got with the voltage regulators on, you can connect it all directly. You don't need to worry about 4.2 volts or whatever it says up there. Look at this. This is just amazing. It blows my mind, especially when it started working. There's the library. Then you say text number. And you say, okay, that's the text I want to send to that number. And then it does it. And I will show you because this just blew my mind. I know it's easily blown, but this is absolutely incredible, the opportunities it provides. So I've got everything powered from there, 5 volts, so it's got all enough amps and things, and I've got that connected to the computer, and then all I do is upload this sketch. I mean, this is, if I've said it once, I've said it once. It's just so amazing, the integrated development environment for the Arduino that you can just download for free and use. Right, so now that's uploaded to that sketch. Little red lights flashing. Look, Isn't that amazing? That's absolutely incredible. I'm actually using the SIM card from, one of these phones, not smartphones, that I got for my daughter who doesn't use it ever, Why bother? It's only our father paying a monthly whatever. So that is incredible. So the next step, so there's the real-time clock, because I want it to be able to send the actual time when a message is sent, whether it's a full or whether it's just saying yes, she's in the kitchen. There's also a temperature sensor. It's a very old-fashioned one, but it was floating around because I also want to see that her house is warm enough. So I've got all this now connected up and working fairly well. And now I'm going to start putting it in the box. It's coming together nicely. I've got the classic little hole in the side. I tell you, if you use an Arduino or whatever else you use in these things, microprocessor controller thing, always make the connector, the USB connector, available. It's an absolute joy, because then if you want to reprogram it or edit the program, you just plug it in, everything can remain in situ. Now, the way I've chosen this very morrow to mount this is with M3 screws. They're steel, but that's fine. They're still slotted. None of your posi drives here, thank you. I've just cut out lots and lots. I thought I would just get round to finally making lots of these 3mm thick and 2mm thick M3 spacers. So I've got the larger ones underneath, and then just to make sure that this huge great metal nut doesn't crunch down and short circuit some of the tracks, because sometimes they're a bit close, I've put a 2mm on top spacer and then the nut. Now a top tip, if you want to laser cut a load of these little spacers that just so happen to be exactly the right size to fall through the honeycomb thing and get lost, sit them on a piece of cardboard. Thank you so much. It's some time later and I've got it all wired up. Look, we have lenses with shiny particles. There's the PIR sensor and the air vent. And then inside, the back of the PIR sensor, there's the aerial and the SIM card thing, temperature sensor. You can see it's all arranged. It's very satisfying getting all this wired up. And at the bottom, my normal Veriboard little bus bar thing to connect to all the +5s and ground with a nice big capacitor. And of course, able to plug in the USB and the LED to illuminate the back of the window there. And now I must stop talking and prevaricating and put this back together. I haven't yet got the remote control, that's not arrived yet, but should do later today. But I can get all of this tested with a bit of luck. It's this evening. Amazing. Just popped round to check my mum's okay, and she's really slept brilliantly downstairs. I'm so pleased. And now, to finish off the mum sensor, or whatever I want to call it, and something else exciting has just arrived. Look! It's one of these remote controls, except this one can work on any voltage up to 12 volts from about 4 volts. So that's fantastic. There's the key fob, which will be her panic button in case she falls. I'll get this wired in, and luckily I can even solder the wires on, which I conveniently left sitting to one side here. Let's get that installed. Then that's everything, and I can carry on programming it and checking everything works. I do love these little remote control units. It's fascinating actually getting involved in this project, because it's like the Arduino in all the previous ones has been just enclosed, only able to talk to its own bits and pieces. And now suddenly this can text people, and it's got remote controls and all sorts. It's really exciting. You just connect it to 5 volts, and I thought I'd check it first. Switch it on, press your remote control, hold the button down for a couple of seconds, and it's learnt it. Look, and listen. I know this is really basic stuff, but it gives me no end of pleasure. I can even come over here and just... And it says it's got quite a long range, and if you need to make it a bit longer, you can uncurl the aerial wire. Aerials are so weird, they really are. The fact coiling it up like that has the same effect for the radio waves as if it was a long straight piece of wire. I do not begin to understand it. I'll add it to the list of things I don't understand. Right, let's get that installed. It's another day, and I've learnt a load of new stuff already. Strings. Let's talk about that embarrassing subject with Arduino. Now, I think it puzzles a lot of people because apparently, having learnt to program in several other languages, all self-taught, I hasten to add, I've used strings a lot just to sort of sort out text and mix text and numbers, all that sort of thing. Apparently there's bugs in Arduino that mean that it's very, very unwise to use the string format because it apparently nibbles away at the stack and eventually can cause the whole thing to crash. So everyone is of the opinion, do not use strings. They are the work of the devil. Use character arrays instead. And it's one of those things, it seemed last night when I was trying to figure out how to get it to send a text message, something like movement has been detected at, with the time from the real-time clock, I just could not figure out how to combine the two and get a sort of character array with everything in it. The cool light of the morning and a nice calm head, I figured it out, and it's so well, it's not obvious, but it's like everything. Once you know it, you think, how on earth didn't I know this before? Let me show you in a very echoey kitchen. Apologies if this is like telling people how to suck eggs, but what I found was you create a buffer to hold the message, contains more characters than you'd actually require, and that's reserved then. Then you can have another character array with some letters in it, some text of your choice, and then you can use ITOA, which is integer to array, I think. Still in focus, yeah. And you can read the hour or get an integer or whatever, and then you can replace the contents of that array with the integer, base 10 or whatever else. So we can look up what that meant. So if it was a byte or binary, it would be 2. That's right, 2, 4, 8, 16, etc. 10 even. And you go on like that. And then once you've got your message, and I couldn't resist then putting in AM, PM, you know, the joy of working something like this out and getting it working, oh, it really is a treat. So once you've got all the elements and parts of your message together, you string copy the first, and that's not the other sort of string. It's got a lower case. This is something else I learnt this morning. The bad strings have a big S, the good strings have a little s, sort of. So that copies it into your original message buffer, copies that character array in, and then all the others, not catatonic, I do sometimes feel like that. Oh, I've said that now. Cata nine tails. Oh, it's gone. I've completely confused myself. But you add it on, it means adding on. And you just keep doing that, and then you can then print it, or you can send it to as a text. This is really basic stuff, but I don't know, I've never needed to do this before, and I'm absolutely thrilled. We're a step closer. Oh dear friends, what a joy. Look, the only thing it hasn't got right, which is completely unnecessary, go away, this useless phone, I hate it. It couldn't apparently do the degrees, see, so it's added an I and whatever you call it, an and at thing. I will consider that now. Oh, I just love getting bogged down in the minutiae. That's great news. It's about lunchtime, and I've learnt even more stuff. This is an amazingly educational day. Let me show you, and I'm almost there. First thing I've learnt is you can add an ASCII character, and even though this is from the extended ASCII character set, it can be included as a character which will then send to a mobile phone and appear as the little degree symbol. I'm sure I've got all that wrong, but it seems to work. If you know differently, please do tell me, and I do apologise before lots of people say, look at all this, you could combine all that so much better. It's a learning process. My brain is a muscle. I like looking at this because I can see what's going on when I come back to it later. There's never a dull moment. Whilst working on that, I've started making some more NetNet Throbble kits, because these things take ages, all the engraving and everything, and I suddenly realised I have 10 left. So I've started making more of them because I'm going to clear them, because what I thought was, here's the remote control, the panic button, and it actually stands proud slightly, so if she was in a pocket she could sit on it or something, and then every 5 minutes we'd get an alert. So I'm going to cut a little ring of acrylic out to stick around it so it can't be accidentally pressed. Let's talk ergonomics. I thought, because obviously she could easily press that, 3mm ring would be okay, but then when I came to try and press it, my normal fingers are okay, but it was too small for my thumb, and because my mum's fingers are quite weak, I think it's going to go with 2mm. It'll still give it plenty of protection, but it means that she'll be able to use her thumb for it. Interesting. 35-year-old one, present day one, the wonders of steampunk. I meant to say the other day, actually, when I was explaining this, the idea was that it would have had sensors all around the person's house to monitor their movements and check they're okay, look for patterns, that sort of thing, which this sort of is going to do. And I'd also, funnily enough, on my Spectrum, for the degree show, I did an animation on the Spectrum, which is in the loft somewhere, but I don't know where the cassette with the program's gone, but it had a little person moving around their house, triggering sensors and things. I'd love to find that. I will have a look for it. Another day, another shirt. I do have some standards, not many, but some. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this enjoyable and possibly helpful. Do get in touch if you want any information on how to build one of these things. Please remember to click like and subscribe and share and all that stuff. Hope to see you next time. Next time it should be the video of the ukulele playing machine working, fingers crossed. Thanks again. Oh, and don't forget Whitby, February next year, 2024. Hope to see you there.